Imagine you need to cross a particularly dangerous street. This street is notoriously unsafe. For every 1,000 people who attempt to cross, one will be hit by a car. Now, if you attempted to cross this street today, would you make it across? This simple example demonstrates our tendency to default to yes or no, all or nothing, black and white thinking, when really we should be thinking in probabilities. In this video, we'll explore a new way of thinking that embraces probabilities. It's called thinking grey. Unlike black and white thinking, which seeks clear cut answers, thinking grey, also known as probabilistic thinking, acknowledges the inherent uncertainty in most situations. Thinking grey is a powerful tool for understanding how the world really works. If we ask ourselves the question, will I get hit by a car when crossing this dangerous street? We could answer with yes or no. But this isn't very accurate or very useful. In reality, there is a spectrum of probabilities in between yes and no. In this particular case, the stats are known. 1 in every 1,000 crossings will result in an accident. So if we cross this street twice a day for 1 year, our odds of getting hit are 51%. Now, this level of insight is far more useful than a simple yes or no. Almost everything we do fits on this grey spectrum, in between the black and white yes or no. Will it rain today? The forecast says there's an 80% chance. Will I win the lottery? Your odds are incredibly small, but they're not zero. Will my house sell in the next 3 months? Market data says there's a 20% chance. Will my tyres last the winter? Will construction be completed by March? Will my flight be delayed? Answers to these questions are best expressed as probabilities, not as a yes or a no. The best answers are in the grey, not in the black and white. Thinking grey allows us to embrace uncertainty. Instead of looking for guaranteed outcomes, we start asking questions like, what is likely to happen? And what are the odds? This shift in mindset helps us see that most situations are not binary. They exist on a spectrum of probabilities. When we think grey, our thinking becomes more flexible. We reduce overconfidence and become better at assessing risk. Thinking grey is a fundamental shift towards more rational thinking. Now, we don't have to be perfectly accurate with our probabilities, but we also shouldn't just be guessing. Let's look at 3 essential concepts that will enhance our ability to determine probabilities. Firstly, base rates. Base rates represent the statistical probabilities of an event occurring, but we often overlook base rates in favor of more dramatic details. Consider this headline: home invasion incidents double in the past year. It sounds alarming, but before we react, we need to consider the base rate. How frequent are home invasions overall? If it's exceedingly rare to begin with, even doubling the rate might still leave us with a very low probability of encountering a home invasion. Understanding relevant base rates will help us better estimate our probabilities and protect us from being swayed by sensationalized information. Secondly, we need to understand abnormal distributions. Some things in our world follow a normal distribution. The classic example of a normal distribution is people's heights. Some people are short and some tall, but most are evenly distributed somewhere in between. There is an even spread. However, many things in our world follow an abnormal distribution. There is an uneven spread. Take, for example, book sales. The vast majority of books sell very few copies, while a few bestsellers dominate the market. Having a sense of the type of distribution we're working with will greatly improve our ability to determine probabilities. Lastly, we need to consider optimistic estimation errors. We tend to be overly optimistic in our predictions. We have a tendency to believe that the average doesn't apply to us. We overestimate our abilities and our luck. Thinking grey encourages us to factor in the probability of being wrong and gives us a more realistic view of what is actually likely to happen. When thinking grey, we should always be willing to reassess our probabilities, particularly when new evidence presents itself. Unfortunately, our instinct is to favour information that confirms what we already believe. This is classic confirmation bias. However, as grey thinkers, we welcome new evidence, even if it contradicts our prior assumptions. We must not get attached to our beliefs. Instead, we should allow our probabilities to shift when new information arises. Incorporating grey thinking into your daily life is like upgrading your mental toolkit. It helps you handle uncertainty with greater confidence, question assumptions, and make decisions that are both smarter and more flexible. Thinking grey is about seeing the world for what it really is, a series of probabilities.